kelas IT, BI Corner, Bursa Efek Indonesia, Mini Bank, Masjid, fasilitas olahraga, kantin dan kafe mahasiswa, serta sportorium. Selain itu, program studi ekonomi memperkenalkan rencana evakuasi darurat seperti jalur evakuasi, titik kumpul, alat pemadam kebakaran, hidran, serta baju pemadam kebakaran. Melalui program internasional, kami memiliki kegiatan pertukaran pelajar dengan institusi terkemuka di dunia, seperti universitas di Malaysia, Tiongkok, Taiwan, Turki, Timur Tengah, negara-negara Eropa, dan Afrika. Alumni program studi ekonomi bekerja di beberapa institusi bergengsi seperti Bank Indonesia, Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, Kementerian Luar Negeri, Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan, Keuangan Mikro Syariah, dan lain sebagainya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, I'm Unity Tanya Velasta, IPF student batch 2019, Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. In here, I'm not only learning in the class, but also I have many other interesting experience, such as attending seminar with extraordinary speakers, learning culture and history directly in museum and other historical places. I also had the opportunity to do an internship here at COSAM, a company engaged in research and development in Turkey.
IPF had given me a lot of opportunities to enhance my potentials, including my potentials in international levels. So they always push me to the limit that I have to involve in many international activities such as student exchange, international paper competitions, and EDGE. And this experience really helped me to fostering my leadership skills, my independent skill, as well as my participation in international communities.
Program studi ekonomi mengadakan event internasional seperti International Conference on Islamic Economics and Financial Inclusion setiap 2 tahun. Summer Course International Training for Young Islamic and Economics Leaders setiap tahun. IMY Economics Research Olympiad, International Research Dissemination Forum, Taiwan Higher Education Exhibition, and International Culinary Festivals.
UMY has a high qualified lecturers who teach in English on quiet, practical manner. UMY provide a lot of facilities to improve the well-being of the students. And also there are serious guest lecturers and international conference for Islamic economic and finance.
It's a wonderful place to be here at UMY, and I'm very glad to be able to contribute for a long-term sustainable change and development, and I'm very glad to be given the opportunity to be here and contribute my skills and knowledge for the betterment of this society.
Program studi ekonomi Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, kreatif dan berkarakter Islami. Selamat datang di program studi ekonomi, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Program studi ekonomi memiliki visi menjadi program studi ekonomi yang unggul dalam pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi berlandaskan nilai-nilai Islam di Asia Tenggara pada tahun 2025. Program studi ekonomi bertujuan membentuk lulusan yang kreatif, inovatif, menguasai teknologi informasi dan komunikasi, serta berwawasan nasional dan internasional. Program Studi Ekonomi Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta memiliki 4 enrichment course, yaitu Ekonomi Pembangunan Berkelanjutan, Ekonomi Kreatif, Ekonomi Kesehatan, serta Ekonomi Keuangan dan Perbankan Islam.
Welcome to Faculty Economics and Business Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Economic study program with excellent accreditation is the right place for those who are interested in becoming professionals for economic institutions, banking and finance, and also Research Center Indonesia. Economic study program Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta is the third of the best study programs in Indonesia in the field of economics, econometrics, and finance based on SMAGO institution rankings. Economic study program Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta born to be number 1.
The Economic Study Program Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta has 2 graduate profiles, namely as economic analysts and entrepreneurs who are equipped with knowledge and insights on various topics related to the problems faced both in macro and micro spheres. Various analytical tools are studied and applied in various cases, supported by technology and integration of Islamic values in each courses.
Dalam memberikan pengalaman belajar yang prima bagi mahasiswa, program studi ekonomi memiliki beberapa fasilitas yang menunjang pembelajaran, seperti ruang kuliah yang nyaman, perpustakaan, student lounge, kelas IT, BI Corner, Bursa Efek Indonesia, mini bank, masjid, fasilitas olahraga, kantin dan kafe mahasiswa, serta sportorium. Selain itu, program studi ekonomi memperkenalkan rencana evakuasi darurat seperti jalur evakuasi, titik kumpul, alat pemadam kebakaran, hidran, serta baju pemadam kebakaran. Melalui program internasional, kami memiliki kegiatan pertukaran pelajar dengan institusi terkemuka di dunia, seperti universitas di Malaysia, Tiongkok, Taiwan, Turki, Timur Tengah, negara-negara Eropa, dan Afrika. Alumni program studi ekonomi bekerja di beberapa institusi bergengsi seperti Bank Indonesia, Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, Kementerian Luar Negeri, Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan, Keuangan Mikro Syariah, dan lain sebagainya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goedenavond, I'm Unity Tanya Velasta, IPF student batch 2019, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. In here, I'm not only learning in the class, but also I have many other interesting experience, such as attending seminar with extraordinary speakers, learning culture and history directly in museum and other historical places. I also had the opportunity to do an internship here at COSAM, a company engaged in research and development in Turkey.
IPF had given me a lot of opportunities to enhance my potentials, including my potentials in international levels. So they always push me to the limit that I have to involve in many international activities such as student exchange, international paper competitions, and EDGE. And this experience really helped me to fostering my leadership skills, my independent skill, as well as my participation in international communities.
Program studi ekonomi mengadakan event internasional seperti International Conference on Islamic Economics and Financial Inclusion setiap 2 tahun. Summer Course International Training for Young Islamic and Economics Leaders setiap tahun. ICIEFI Economics Research Olympiad, International Research Dissemination Forum, Taiwan Higher Education Exhibition, and International Culinary Festivals.
UMY has a high qualified lecturers who teach in English on quiet, practical manner. UMY provide a lot of facilities to improve the well-being of the students. And also there are serious guest lecturers and international conference for Islamic economic and finance.
It's a wonderful place to be here at UMY, and I'm very glad to be able to contribute for a long-term sustainable change and development, and I'm very glad to be given the opportunity to be here and contribute my skills and knowledge for the betterment of this society.
Program Studi Ekonomi Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, kreatif dan berkarakter Islami. Selamat datang di program studi Ekonomi, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Program studi ekonomi memiliki visi menjadi program studi ekonomi yang unggul dalam pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi berlandaskan nilai-nilai Islam di Asia Tenggara pada tahun 2025. Program studi ekonomi bertujuan membentuk lulusan yang kreatif, inovatif, menguasai teknologi informasi dan komunikasi, serta berwawasan nasional dan internasional. Program studi ekonomi Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta memiliki 4 enrichment course, yaitu ekonomi pembangunan berkelanjutan, ekonomi kreatif, ekonomi kesehatan, serta ekonomi keuangan dan perbankan Islam.
Welcome to Faculty Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Economic study program with excellent accreditation is the right place for those who are interested in becoming professionals for economic institutions, banking and finance, and also research center Indonesia. Economic study program Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta is the third of the best study programs in Indonesia in the field of economics, econometrics, and finance based on Simago institution rankings. Economic study program Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta born to be number 1.
The Economic Study Program, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta has 2 graduate profiles, namely as economic analysts and entrepreneurs who are equipped with knowledge and insights on various topics related to the problems faced both in macro and micro spheres. Various analytical tools are studied and applied in various cases, supported by technology and integration of Islamic values in each courses.
Dalam memberikan pengalaman belajar yang prima bagi mahasiswa, program studi ekonomi memiliki beberapa fasilitas yang menunjang pembelajaran, seperti ruang kuliah yang nyaman, perpustakaan, student lounge, kelas IT, BI Corner, Bursa Efek Indonesia, mini bank, masjid, fasilitas olahraga, kantin dan kafe mahasiswa, serta sportorium. Selain itu, program studi ekonomi memperkenalkan rencana evakuasi darurat seperti jalur evakuasi, titik kumpul, alat pemadam kebakaran, hydrant, serta baju pemadam kebakaran. Melalui program internasional, kami memiliki kegiatan pertukaran pelajar dengan institusi terkemuka di dunia, seperti universitas di Malaysia, Tiongkok, Taiwan, Turki, Timur Tengah, negara-negara Eropa, dan Afrika. Alumni program studi ekonomi bekerja di beberapa institusi bergengsi seperti Bank Indonesia, Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, Kementerian Luar Negeri, Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan, Keuangan Mikro Syariah, dan lain sebagainya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, I'm Unity Tanya Velasta, IPF student batch 2019, Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. In here, I'm not only learning in the class, but also I have many other interesting experience, such as attending seminar with extraordinary speakers, learning culture and history directly in museum and other historical places. I also had the opportunity to do an internship here at COSAM, a company engaged in research and development in Turkey.
IPF had given me a lot of opportunities to enhance my potentials, including my potentials in international levels. So they always push me to the limit that I have to involve in many international activities such as student exchange, international paper competitions, and EDGE. And this experience really helped me to fostering my leadership skills, my independent skill, as well as my participation in international communities.
Program studi ekonomi mengadakan event internasional seperti International Conference on Islamic Economics and Financial Inclusion setiap 2 tahun. Summer Course International Training for Young Islamic and Economics Leaders setiap tahun. IMY Economics Research Olympiad, International Research Dissemination Forum, Taiwan Higher Education Exhibition, and International Culinary Festivals.
UMY has a high qualified lecturers who teach in English on quiet, practical manner. UMY provide a lot of facilities to improve the well-being of the students. And also there are serious guest lecturers and international conference for Islamic economic and finance.
It's a wonderful place to be here at UMY, and I'm very glad to be able to contribute for a long-term sustainable change and development, and I'm very glad to be given the opportunity to be here and contribute my skills and knowledge for the betterment of this society.
Program studi ekonomi Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, kreatif dan berkarakter Islami. Selamat datang di program studi ekonomi, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Program studi ekonomi memiliki visi menjadi program studi ekonomi yang unggul dalam pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi berlandaskan nilai-nilai Islam di Asia Tenggara pada tahun 2025. Program studi ekonomi bertujuan membentuk lulusan yang kreatif, inovatif, menguasai teknologi informasi dan komunikasi, serta berwawasan nasional dan internasional. Program studi ekonomi Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta memiliki 4 enrichment course, yaitu ekonomi pembangunan berkelanjutan, ekonomi kreatif, ekonomi kesehatan, serta ekonomi keuangan dan perbankan Islam.
Welcome to Faculty Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Economic study program with excellent accreditation is the right place for those who are interested in becoming professionals for economic institutions, banking and finance, and also research center Indonesia. Economic study program Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta is the third of the best study programs in Indonesia in the field of economics, econometrics, and finance based on Simago institution rankings. Economic study program Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta born to be number 1.
The Economic Study Program, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta has 2 graduate profiles, namely as economic analysts and entrepreneurs who are equipped with knowledge and insights on various topics related to the problems faced both in macro and micro spheres. Various analytical tools are studied and applied in various cases, supported by technology and integration of Islamic values in each courses.
Dalam Selamat datang di program studi Ekonomi, Fakultas Ekonomi dan Bisnis, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, Indonesia. Program studi ekonomi memiliki visi menjadi program studi ekonomi yang unggul dalam pengembangan ilmu pengetahuan dan teknologi berlandaskan nilai-nilai Islam di Asia Tenggara pada tahun 2025. Program studi ekonomi bertujuan membentuk lulusan yang kreatif, inovatif, menguasai teknologi informasi dan komunikasi, serta berwawasan nasional dan internasional. Program studi ekonomi Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta memiliki 4 enrichment course, yaitu ekonomi pembangunan berkelanjutan, ekonomi kreatif, ekonomi kesehatan, serta ekonomi keuangan dan perbankan Islam.
Welcome to Faculty Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Economic study program with excellent accreditation is the right place for those who are interested in becoming professionals for economic institutions, banking and finance, and also research center Indonesia. Economic study program Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta is the third of the best study programs in Indonesia in the field of economics, econometrics, and finance based on Simago institution rankings. Economic study program Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta born to be number 1.
The Economic Study Program Faculty of Economics and Business Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta has 2 graduate profiles, namely as economic analysts and entrepreneurs who are equipped with knowledge and insights on various topics related to the problems faced both in macro and micro spheres. Various analytical tools are studied and applied in various cases, supported by technology and integration of Islamic values in each courses.
Dalam memberikan pengalaman belajar yang prima bagi mahasiswa, program studi ekonomi memiliki beberapa fasilitas yang menunjang pembelajaran, seperti ruang kuliah yang nyaman, perpustakaan, student lounge, kelas IT, BI Corner, Bursa Efek Indonesia, mini bank, masjid, fasilitas olahraga, kantin dan kafe mahasiswa, serta sportorium. Selain itu, program studi ekonomi memperkenalkan rencana evakuasi darurat seperti jalur evakuasi, titik kumpul, alat pemadam kebakaran, hidran, serta baju pemadam kebakaran. Melalui program internasional, kami memiliki kegiatan pertukaran pelajar dengan institusi terkemuka di dunia, seperti universitas di Malaysia, Tiongkok, Taiwan, Turki, Timur Tengah, negara-negara Eropa, dan Afrika. Alumni program studi ekonomi bekerja di beberapa institusi bergengsi seperti Bank Indonesia, Otoritas Jasa Keuangan, Kementerian Luar Negeri, Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan, Keuangan Mikro Syariah, dan lain sebagainya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good night, I'm Unity Tanya Velasta, IPF student batch 2019, Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. In here, I'm not only learning in the class, but also I have many other interesting experiences, such as attending seminar with extraordinary speakers, learning culture and history directly in museum and other historical places. I also had the opportunity to do an internship here at COSAM, a company engaged in research and development in Turkey.
IPF had given me a lot of opportunities to enhance my potentials, including my potentials in international levels. So they always push me to the limit that I have to involve in many international activities such as student exchange, international paper competitions, and EDGE. And this experience really helped me to fostering my leadership skills, my independent skill, as well as my participation in international communities.
Program studi ekonomi mengadakan event internasional seperti International Conference on Islamic Economics and Financial Inclusion setiap 2 tahun. Summer Course International Training for Young Islamic and Economics Leaders setiap tahun. IMY Economics Research Olympiad. International Research Dissemination Forum. Taiwan Higher Education Exhibition, and International Culinary Festivals.
UMY has a high qualified lecturers who teach in English on quiet, practical manner. UMY provide a lot of facilities to improve the well-being of the students. And also there are serious guest lecturers and international conference for Islamic economic and finance.
It's a wonderful place to be here at UMY, and I'm very glad to be able to contribute for a long-term sustainable change and development, and I'm very glad to be given the opportunity to be here and contribute my skills and knowledge for the betterment of this society.
Program studi ekonomi Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta, kreatif dan berkarakter Islami. Selamat datang di program studi ekonomi, Fakultas Ekonomi dan
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Professor Aziz Cakra Darsono, the Honorable Professor Dr. Endah Sabtuningsi, SEMSI, Head of Study Program of Economics, Faculty Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. The Honorable Mrs. Dias Setiawati Dewanti, SEMSC, PhD, the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. The Honorable Professor Rizal Yahya, SEMSC, PhD, AKCA, the Dean of the Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. And last but not least, the Honorable all of the speaker, participant, and committee of the 6th ICIEFI 2023. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya wal mursalin, sayyidina wa habibina wa syafiina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Amma ba'du. Alhamdulillah, let us not forget to always present our gratitude to the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because of the grace of His Hidayah and Inayah, we can participate in this event. In this afternoon, with a great health and amazing spirit, let us also not forget our prayers and greetings that are hopefully will always be poured to our great Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, whom we are waiting for the intercession at Yaumul Qiyamah. Amin. Amin. Ya Rabbal Alamin. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 6th International Conference on Islamic Economic and Financial Inclusion 2023 with the themes Enhancing Economic, Finance, and Environmental Resilience through Society 5.0 to achieve Sustainable Development Goals. Before we proceed, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Alfaizi Dwi Putra Paputungan, and I would be the Master of Ceremony for this event. Let me first read the rundown for this event. First, we have the opening. Second, the recitation of the Holy Quran. Third, the welcoming remark. Fourth, the keynote speech. Fifth is the parallelization for paper presentation. And sixth, ladies and gentlemen, we are entering our first event, which is the opening. With enthusiasm and joy, let us open the 6th International Conference on Islamic Economic and Financial Inclusion 2023 by reciting Al-Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you. We proceed to the second event, and that is the recitation of the Holy Quran by Brother Ardan Prayoga. Brother Ardan, this time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس إذا قيل لكم تفسحوا في المجالس فافسحوا يفسح الله لكم وإذا قيل انشزوا فانشزوا يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات والله بما تعملون خبير صدق الله العظيم. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Brother Adan, for the beautiful recitation of the Holy Quran. Ladies and gentlemen, we shall proceed to the next session, and that is the welcoming remark. For the first welcoming remark, it is from Mr. Susilo Nur Aji Cokro Darsono, SEMRDM, PhD, as the head of the committee of the 6th ICIEFI 2023. Mr. Susilo, the session is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The Honorable Assistant Professor Diah Dewanti, PhD, as the Vice Dean of Faculty Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Honorable Professor Dr. Endah Sabtutingsi, as the Head of Economic Study Program, Fakultas Economic and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Chair Professor Wingkeng Wong, as the Senior Co-Editor-in-Chief Journal Advanced in Decision Science, Asia University, Taiwan. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to welcome all of you to Yogyakarta for the Indonesian 6th International Conference on Islamic Economics and Financial Inclusions, or ICIEFI, as the part of 7 ICOSI at Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. ICIEFI is an international conference carried out by Economic Study Program as regularly since 2015. And I would like to begin by expressing my sincere appreciations and gratitude to the Department of Economics from Vietnam National University of Agriculture, College of Graduate Study Management, Khon Kaen University from Thailand, and then Economic Study Program, Universitas Ahmad Dahlan, and Economic Study Program, Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta, for strong collaborations and for co-hosting this event. ICIEFI aims to provide solutions on current challenge in finding directions and formulating strategies to strengthen the global economic in all sectors. In the next 5 years, with the help and assistance of academicians, researchers, and practitioners, Based on the overwhelming positively feedback of the attendance on the last ICIEFI in 2021, now we are holding back the 6th ICIEFI 2023 under the theme Enhancing Economic, Finance, and Environmental Resilience through Society 5.0 to achieve Sustainable Development Goals. And this conference feature rich program including UMY Research and Innovations Expo, and invited speaker for panel session will be delivered by Prof. Peter Meyer from Osnabrück University of Applied Science from Germany, and then Prof. Budi Reso Sudarmo from Australian National University from Australia, and then also by Prof. Imamuddin Yuliadi from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. And we also have another sessions for the editor sessions with Chair Professor Wing Keng Wong. He is the editor-in-chief of Annals of Financial Economics Journal. It is Scopus Index Journal Q2, right? And senior co-editor-in-chief Advanced in Decision Science Journals. And this 6th ICIEFI 2023 offers a special opportunity to bring together professors, researchers, and scholars around the globe and serve as a platform to deliver innovative research and latest trends and development in the field of economics and finance. All accepted presented papers in this conference will have the opportunities to publish in Advanced in Decision Science journals indexed by Scopus, also GSP, EGF, Jurnal Pembangunan Ekonomi Wilayah, and Equilibrium for Sinta 2 journal, and GDE and Optimum for Sinta 3, JERS Sinta 4, and the last one is Proceedings ISBN. And the 6th ICIEFI has received 90 submitted papers, whereby 74 papers have been accepted by the committee for presentation, which consists of 30 papers from Thailand, Vietnam, Taiwan, Philippines, and Malaysia, and another 44 papers from Indonesia. These papers are divided into 3 offline and 4 online parallel sessions in the conference related with the topics. To all members of the organizing committee, the International Scientific Committee, the reviewer, and the collaboration partners, we would like to thank all of them for their tremendous efforts to organize this conference successfully. We look forward to having successful conference, and we hope that all the attendants enjoy and benefit from this conference. Stay healthy and happy. Thank you very much for your attention. Billahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the next welcoming remark, we have Mrs. Dia Setiawati Dewanti, SE MSc PhD, the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Economic and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah, Yogyakarta. Mrs. Dia, the session is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Professor Peter Meyer from Osnabrück University, Professor Wing Keng Wong from ICIEFI University, Taiwan, Dr. Nguyen Tran Taita from Van Lang University, Assistant Professor Nguyen Phong Lee, the Head of Department of Economics, Vietnam National University of Agriculture, and all of the team members from Vietnam National University of Agriculture, the Honorable of Professor Indah Sabtuningsih, Dr. Diah Titis, Dr. Dimas Bagus Wiranata Kusuma, Dr. Susilo Nur Aji Cokro Darsono, Profesor Dr. Lilis Setiartiti, and Professor Imamuddin Yuliadi, and also Dr. Agus Tribasuki. Really sorry. In my mind, it's ATB, sorry. And also Dr. Ayif, Fatur Rahman, and Dr. Desi Rahmawati. Thank you so much for your coming, for all of the participants of ICIEFI International, the 6th International Conference of Islamic Economics and Financial Inclusions. Me as representative from the Dean of Faculty Economics, unfortunately he cannot join with us today, but actually he's in the next of our room. He has also opened another international conference in accounting in finance. But however, I'm representative from the Dean of Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. I would like to welcome to all of the international participants. I saw there's Vietnam, and I saw from the online Thailand, Khon Kaen University, from my great brother, Dr. Chuan Chen Bee. Thank you so much for joining with us. Thank you so much that we also have from Malaysia also. And I think we also have 2 universities from Vietnam. ICIEFI actually, this is the 6th times that we are holding the ICIEFI. The previous one was 2021. We started from 2015. It was start up by almarhum Dr. Masyudi Mukharrabin. He has a spirit that our department have to have the international conference, which is actually, it's happening until now. And I'm feeling goosebumps. I feel that he's joining with us also today with happiness, that we are still working on the ICIEFI. I still remember that ICIEFI is the initiators of international conference in Faculty of Economics. So after that, management and then accounting is also joining with us and having the international conference annually. But unfortunately for ICIEFI, we do it every 2 years. So hopefully in 2025, we will held again the ICIEFI, and hopefully we'll meet you again in here. So despite of ICIEFI, we also have a summer course, which is usually into 2015, we always integrated together the summer course and also the ICIEFI. And it's worked very successfully until now. And the summer course, I think, is already finished. It was around more than 100 participants joining with us, and then closed by this international conference. I would like to say great gratitude to the committee of ICIEFI, to the Department of Economics, that ICIEFI is successfully prepared, and hopefully in the next 2 days we will have the collaborations on the conference. Next year, probably from Vietnam, I think we have Van Lang University, Vietnam National University of Agriculture. We can have collaboration to join our international conference together. You can invite us to join with you in your university, so we can have the international collaborations further. Thank you so much for everyone for coming today, and hopefully after this you can enjoy the atmosphere of academics, the atmosphere of international academics, and also join collaborations among all of us. Thank you so much. And in this occasion, I would like to open this international conference of Islamic economics and financial inclusions. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Susilo and Mrs. Dia, for the wonderful welcoming remark. Ladies and gentlemen, we are entering the next event, namely the main keynote speech, which will be delivered by Professor Peter Mayer, Professor of Economic and International Economics at the University of Applied Science, Osnabrück. It will be moderated by Dr. Dimas Bagus Wiranata Kusuma, SEMEC PhD. But before I hand over this session, let me first read the background education of our moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Dr. Dimas, this session is yours.
Okay, very good afternoon, everybody. So before we start, as Dr. Prof. Mayer has joined us, the Zoom has joined, the Prof. Mayer, Prof. Mayer. Okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, dear sisters and brothers. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Salatu wassalam ala Rasulillah wa la hawla wa la quwata illa billah. First of all, thank you for having this session together with us. So today we are going to have parallel sessions with our respective professors that mentioned by the moderator just now. Because we have only 1 hour for discussions, I would like to just quickly read his CV before we start. So we have here our honorable professors, Dr. Peter Mayer. Yeah. So he's the professor for international relations, actually, at the University of Bremen since 2006. So he started studies of political science, philosophy, and German language and literatures at the University of Tübingen in 1891 to 1992. And he has specialization in the area of innovation and organization, transnational conflicts and international institutions. And also his research interests include the theory of international politics, international ethics, and theory and practice of international governance. And right now, he is working at the WZB University, and he has a book about the regulation of the internet. So Prof. Peter, have you been with us today? Hello, Prof. Can you hear my voice from there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Prof. Where are you, Prof, by the way?
I'm currently in Austria having holidays.
Okay, Prof. So, Prof, before we start, Prof. Peter Mayer will discuss with us the issue on the growing importance of ESG for achieving economics and environmental resilience. So these topics basically is quite timely and interesting in regard of the current situation whereby we are having some disruptive era, yeah, and how the ESG, economic, social, and governance studies here will have the contributions in order to create any economics and environmental resilience. So if we talk about resilience, then we talk about the system whereby it is able to absorb some shocks, and in the same time also he can remains facilitating the economic situations normally. So with that, Prof. Peter Mayer will explore these issues for perhaps 30 minutes, Prof, if you don't mind. And then the next 30 minutes, we will have Q&A discussions. With that, Prof, I would like to let you start your presentation, Prof, if you don't mind. Please, Prof, time is yours.
So thank you very much. Yes, indeed, it's a great pleasure to wait a second to give this presentation this morning. On my side, this morning I'm in Austria, and I would like to first of all congratulate you for the topic you chose. The resilience is really the hot topic here in Europe. Everyone is talking about resilience in all sorts of dimensions. Economic resilience, how can our economies be resilient when it comes to global recessions, global disruptions, but political resilience as well. How can we be stable despite all the changes in the world? Environmental resilience. What does it mean when the climate is heating up, when the temperature is heating up, and how can our cities, how can our houses, how can our industry be resilient? But resilience as well in terms of how can people be resilient? How can they be strong to weather the storm? So resilience is a big issue. SDGs is a big issue, and so congratulations for the topic. So my name is Peter Meyer. Actually, there were some mistakes in the CV. My name is Peter Meyer. I'm a professor at the University of Applied Science Osnabrück, and I'm an economist. And I would like to look at it from that perspective. The growing importance of ESG. ESG, like SDG on your side, ESG is a hot issue in Europe, in the United States, and actually I realize around the world. So I want to delve into what does it mean in terms of resilience, ESG. So the issue first is what is actually ESG? And so it's actually clear, it's an acronym, and E actually stands for environment. Sometimes we refer to it ecological issues, but whatever it is, ESG, first one, E is environmental criteria. So when we talk about ESG criteria, we talk about environmental criteria. Environmental criteria become more and more important for enterprises to operate wherever they are. What is their environmental impact? What is the carbon emission of Siemens, of Daimler, of Volkswagen? What is the carbon emission of a small cement producer? What is the carbon emission of a university? So this is one of the hot issues, ESG. First issue is E. The second issue is S. S stands for social issues. So when a German company, when a French company, when an American company, I guess when an Indonesian company, so when a company operates, it is expected that the company is actually observing some social minimum standards. So the S refers to such standards. Do we allow labor relations to work in a way which we consider acceptable? I mean, do we accept trade unions? Do we accept that workers can articulate their criticism? How about inclusion? Do we accept people from different religions? Do we accept people from different ethnic backgrounds? Do we accept that people voice their criticism and the like? So S refers to social aspects of a company. And when you look at the quantitative side, there are so many indicators helping us to sort of quantify what S actually means. The third issue, that is the G, refers to the governance issue. Governance, I mean, not government, but governance refers to the kind of leadership structure, to the kind of decision-making structure, to the kind of system of checks and balances within a company. So the question is actually a company allowing stakeholders to bring in their perspective? Is a company able to have an effective decision-making system? Do we see that when there are laws requiring certain standards of behavior, that the companies really follow such standards? So this is the governance issue. So now we have the three, ESG. When you refer to a company following the ESG standards, the ESG criteria would be environmental criteria, social criteria, and governance criteria. Now, when we look at this ESG, and somehow you have the same topics in your topic, enhancing economic, finance, and environmental resilience. So these are the topics. And the last years have been characterized by huge amounts of money flowing into investment, which is claiming to follow this ESG standards. So the ESG, environmental, social governance standards, they are actually quite broad. So many firms try to use this ESG hype. There's really a hype. When you talk with investors, when you talk with young people, my students in Germany, they would say, no, I don't want to invest in just any company. I want to see that they follow certain standards. So ESG is my proxy I follow. So many firms try to use the ESG hype to portray themselves as champions. And somehow in the media, in the economic literature, you would find the narrative, which is ESG is actually a win-win situation. The companies follow the ESG standards, and then because the young people and the older people and whatever the society is requesting companies to follow such standards, so actually there is a higher growth rate and the like. So sustainable investment, ESG-related investment, has reached $35 trillion in 2020. So it's really a big amount. However, this when we see this, when we see how successful it is, well, we have to note as well there are some pitfalls, there are some problems. The market was extremely attractive for fund managers. So the fund managers, they somehow fueled this development. Higher fees led institutions to move quickly into the market, and sometimes to move into such a market with false claims. There was a lack of clarity concerning the concept itself. So sometimes I would say it's not the companies which were really ill-motivated, but rather they took advantage of the lack of clarity concerning what it is. I mean, I tell you carbon emission, but carbon emission of what? Carbon emission of my company or carbon emission as well of my supplier? So the concept is somehow fuzzy. For a while, society was not interested to hear about the trade-offs of environmental, social, and governance goals. You know, some companies, they are really successful in environment, but lack to meet the standards in governance. Let's take Tesla. Tesla is a wonderful example. We can say that because Tesla is producing electric cars, their environmental impact is very positive. But in terms of governance, it's a one-man show. So the governance part is weak, but the environmental part is strong. So what do we make out of it? So it's actually, there are trade-offs. Sometimes maybe one issue is good, the other is bad, or 5 issues on the environmental side are good, 2 issues on the environmental side are bad, and so forth. There are trade-offs. There was considerable tinkering with the concept and the figures. So to some extent, we observed that companies actually played with the figures just to make sure that they can claim, here we are perfect in ESG. Actually, one German financial institution was at the center of such a criticism. They had employed an American who worked in the company, and one day she said, no, I don't accept that anymore. That is tinkering, that is playing with the figures. This is not an honest way of doing it. So what happens in such situations is quickly there is a new system evolving of measuring. I mean, it's a bit like the ranking of universities. I mean, what is a good university? We can have all sorts of indicators. Muhammadiyah in Yogyakarta, Universitas Muhammadiyah in Yogyakarta is a good university. I visited a number of times. I think it's a good university, but how do I decide on that? So we need metrics. So a new industry emerged. For example, just Google if you find that interesting. Sustainalytics, ESG, risk rating, CI, ESG ratings, Bloomberg, and so forth and the like. And they measure now. And it's a big industry. So for young students here in Indonesia, I would suggest get into that industry. It's really interesting. There will be, I think, there will be a lot of jobs in this area. The measurement tools were meant to allow investors to better align their investment desire, the investment preferences with what is on the market. But, well, how can we measure? How can we measure? So the ESG metrics, for example, in the for E, they would have the greenhouse gas, they would have the carbon footprint, they have the water footprint, and companies need to provide such information. Such rating agencies, they would request such information to be submitted. Gender pay gap, equal opportunities policy. Do they have an equal? So the existence of an equal opportunity policy, or the diversity indicators, what is the percentage of women, what is the percentage of older people, what is the percentage of disabled, and so forth and the like, diversity indicators, or frequency of audits, existence of statements and the like. So the metrics came into being, and they are now, as I want to show you now with two examples, they are now standard. Look at the yearly report of a European company, of an American company, of a Korean company, and you would find that reference to such ESG. So this is taken from the yearly report for one of the German chemical industries. So their ESG risk rating is 28. So here the assessment is coming up with an indicator. When you look at the yearly report, you observe that most companies not only use one metric, but there's a number of metrics because they don't know which one would be considered really trustworthy by others. In Europe, we have nowadays a requirement in our so-called non-financial report to highlight the ESG rating. So here you can see the ESG. I gave you one example here. This is one of the companies. So here Siemens Gamesa, they have at the moment quite some problems. ESG rating agencies measure the company's exposure to and so forth. So now here it comes. Siemens Gamesa receives outstanding ESG ratings from most ESG rating agencies. It ranks #1 in its sector according to 2 ESG ratings. So there is a new industry emerging to measure how is a company actually doing in that respect. Now when we want to use that as a criteria, we need transparency. So, I mean, we can't allow companies just to say, "Oh, I'm actually perfect in that respect." So many countries actually pushed towards more disclosure of the impact of firms in terms of ESG. And in Europe, we have this non-financial reporting regulation, directive. So the EU law required large companies to disclose information on the way to operate and manage social and environmental challenges. So it's not only the investors who are saying we want to see you pay attention to it. It is now the industry answering. Now the government is answering to it as well. The government is saying, okay, we want to see that. We want to do it in a serious manner. So here are some disclosure requirements. However, The Economist, my most cherished newspaper actually, in July 22 argued that the ESG hype is overdone. So they argue we should measure less but better. And we should talk about the trade-offs like Tesla. And we should not push for one single indicator for the ESG, because the single indicator is just portraying a picture which is not true. So the economist is saying we should focus on the environmental issue. Okay, let's leave that aside. Let's take ESG as a given and say what is actually now, what is happening. ESG is, I would say, just like corporate social responsibility and corporate citizenship, it's a concept which is around us. We have to see ESG is part of our world now. So we have an understandable effort to have empirical underpinning of the concept. And there is now this attempt to have some metrics and okay, this is the way we work as well. I mean, we can criticize rankings so often, but at the end of the day, we use rankings to look at is Indonesia a good spot to have holidays? And then we look at some websites, and then they say Indonesia is second ranked, and then we would accept somehow that most probably it's not completely wrong. Anyhow, criticism of ESG is important, helpful, and good. But at the end of the day, it is highly likely that the discussion will continue, and the main thrust of the argument will remain. We need to pay, like in your title here, enhancing economic financing and environmental resilience. These are issues which are relevant. And it's many stakeholders which pay attention to it. So many investors, the big investors, the big hedge funds, the big private equity funds, the big banks in Europe, in the United States, in Singapore, and so many investors prefer investments in companies following ESG criteria. Companies don't want to buy goods. The companies, so it's a different perspective. So the German company would say, okay, when I source material from an Indonesian company, from a Thai company, from a whatever company, I want to pay attention to their ESG rating. So companies don't want to buy goods and services from companies who fail to adhere to standards. So instead of checking all the standards themselves, they would say, okay, let's see, okay, their ESG standard is or the ESG metric is quite good. So that's helpful. Employees, many of my students here in Germany, they would say, I want to work for a company which has a good performance in that respect. The financial institutions, the banks would give loans to companies which are showing they take ESG seriously. And many governments in Europe are expecting companies to respect human rights, social rights, and environmental standards. Let's go through it step by step. I have 5 examples where I want to show you how the process works. So there are many ways how governments can support the move towards ESG. The European governments, the American governments, they really portray ESG as something for the future. Support publicly the move towards ESG standards. Require the companies to report and mention even what is their specific ESG standard. Include ESG issues in trade agreements. I will show you an example. Introduce due diligence laws. I give you an example. Let me skip that because there is an example I show you. Introduce complaint mechanisms within international institutions which deal with multinational enterprise governance issues. This is reality. If a German company is investing in Indonesia and trade union or workers in Indonesia would complain about inhuman treatment, they can go to the OECD or the ILO and complain, and then the issue would be taken up, and then there is a ministerial place in Berlin and so on. So there are complaint mechanisms which help raising the awareness, play a role in raising the reputational risk for business partners. So let's go through some 5 issues step by step. Support publicly the move towards ESG. The governments in Europe, they are fully behind that. Like I said, I support this ESG criticism by the economists, but at the end of the day, the governments in Europe, they say we need to have more transparency, and so we want to support companies to be more open towards what do they do. So the European Union, I would say at the moment the American government as well, they support initiatives like sustainability, corporate social responsibility, green business, or ESG. Number 2, reporting requirements. There is, I told you, and it's increasingly important, there are disclosure requirements. The EU law requires certain large companies, and now the threshold is coming down to disclose information on the way they operate and manage social and environmental challenges. It's not good enough anymore. The government is saying that you just claim you observe the human rights in Bangladesh or in Myanmar or something. You better prove, you better make sure. This helps investors, civil society organizations. So it's the Directive 2014, also called the Non-Financial Reporting Directive. There is a new development, sustainability reporting, which is driving that process further. There is this attempt by the German, not the German, sorry, the European government, the European Commission, to push a so-called taxonomy, to use a common language to describe the environmental, in the case here, the environmental and economic impact of companies. And that is called the EU taxonomy. It's a classification system. They want to make sure that companies are not using terms in a way which sounds good, but at the end is of little benefit. Number 3, the European Union and the United States, Korea, Japan, I actually don't know, but they use the trade agreements to push ESG issues. So, for example, when the European Union is negotiating a trade agreement, for example, with Indonesia, they would say, okay, we want to have written within our trade agreement that, for example, the core labor standards are observed, there is no child labor, concerning environmental issues, the government is following certain standards. So here, this is, I found that in the internet, this is the trade agreement negotiated between the European Union and Indonesia. So here, let's read. The objectives of this chapter is to enhance the integration of sustainable development in the parties' trade and investment relationship, notably by establishing principles and actions concerning labor and environmental aspects. The parties recall the Agenda 21 and the Rio Declaration, and the declaration and so forth and the like. So what I'm saying is, ESG is now filtering into all sorts of aspects of our world, and is used to push that idea of let's not accept that the companies just claim, but they really do. We can, in our Q&A session, we can talk about whether that is actually appropriate. So, and in my classes, when I discuss that, I like to look at it critically as well. But whatever it is, this is one way. Another way is what we call a supply chain law. That's the way we talk about it here in Germany. So in Germany and in Europe, a number of countries, and at the moment the European Union is discussing that to have it at the European Union level. So the German companies, when they do business with an Indonesian company, they have to prove, not just to claim, they have to prove that the labor standards, the environmental standards, the social standards in the companies they work with, they get their supplies from, are up to standards. So at the moment, companies with more than 1,000 employees must ensure compliance with human rights among the entire supply chain. So not even the Indonesian company being the direct supplier, but even the supplier of the Indonesian company. So maybe the Indonesian company is getting the material from Laos or so. Technically, the German company needs to have proof that these standards are met. Some people criticize that. They say, oh, this goes too far. Because at the end of the day, the Indonesian company might have the opportunity to work with Chinese companies, and they don't actually pay such attention to it. But whatever it is, the perspective in Europe and in the United States is we need to make sure that the goods which we consume, which we use for our production in Europe, are not built on the shallow basis of non-acceptance of human rights, labor rights, and the like. Yeah? I like to critically look at it, but first let's just present it to you. Supply chain law. So at the moment, the European Union is discussing such a law. Reputational risk for business partners. Banks do not ignore ESG anymore. So banks would say, okay, you company, you want to have a loan. What is your ESG rate? And did you check the ESG rating of your business partners? And if the company would say, oh, ESG, I don't care. Nowadays they won't get a loan anymore, because that is a reputational risk for the business partner. Conclusion. Enterprises around the world do not escape the fact that there is a growing importance attached to labor conditions, environmental conditions, and the way companies behave when it comes to countries with different standards. So the mechanisms are manifold. I showed you some. Public attention, the government is supporting it, is talking about it, a minister is having it as part of his or her portfolio. Reactions from consumers, from business partners, we have it in our teaching, we include it in our business ethics class. We want to mainstream it. We want to critically discuss it to see as well the negative sides or the problematic side. Countries which want to be attractive, and this is one of the key points actually. So when we want to go on with the globalization, maybe not the same as in the past, but when we want to move on with globalization, we need to pay attention to it. And therefore, when I have this opportunity to talk about ESG in the context of a conference here in Indonesia, I feel this is a good place, because at the end, the German industry has a strong interest in collaborating with Southeast Asia, especially now after the changes in the global economic environment. So we have a strong interest, but at the same time, the underlying interest or the underlying requirement is that we want to do business based on a feeling that we are not complicit with human rights issues or environmental issues which would be considered inappropriate here on our side. So this is my presentation. I hope I could shed light on this issue. And I took 30 minutes, so I'm looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Peter. Give applause to our distinguished speakers today, Prof. Peter Mayer from Germany. So, dear participants, when we heard from him, there are some interesting issues that have been come out regarding with the ESG issues. So, if we talk about ESG, he mentioned about to what extent we cannot make a trade-off with E, S, and G. So there's no any contradictions. So we have to move together. Yeah. So I like this statement, Prof. So we do agree with you. So we have to make the ESG coming together. There is no leaving behind. And the second one, he mentioned also about the measurement. Yeah, the issue of measurement. Therefore, the companies should come up with the disclosures. Yeah, how to disclose the data so that the indicators that meet by the ESG could be used in order to make some measurement to what extent the companies, for example, has been complied with the ESG requirements. And another issue that Prof mentioned is just now is about the law, yeah, the law among the countries. Therefore, to what extent the law here can comply and then can promote the ESG implementation in the respective countries. And the last but not least, Prof mentioned about there is no national standard. If we talk about the ESG, but we can refer to the international labor organizations for the international standard. And the last but not least, Prof also just mentioned about to what extent the Europe and the Germany in particular take some efforts in order to make the ESG become reality. Okay, dear participants, we should end this session by 2:25 p.m. Jakarta times. So we have around maybe 15 to 20 minutes for the Q&A sessions. So in case you have any questions, comment, feedbacks concerning with what professors just now mentioned, please just introduce yourself. Okay, first here, and from the online, you have any questions from the online? Just raise hand if you have questions in the online participants. Okay, meanwhile waiting for the other participants for the question and answers, I'll let our Bapak please mention your names and what the university coming from, and please direct the question to him briefly. Please, Bapak, please, let me hear.
Thank you, Mr. Peter, for the chance for me asking question. Thank you for also for the audience. I'm from IPB University in Bogor. My name is Francis Roy Sestom, Tampu Bolon, and then my question is related with our. This is like the issue, sir. About I want to address about some of the company, especially mining company, and then they have produced such as aluminium. We call it aluminium in Indonesia. And as you know that the way we produce, which is still using is non-renewable energy. I mean, from coal or fossil fuel. But some countries from Europe, they only accept the one that using from green energy. That's the problem actually. But Indonesia right now, currently using or developing from renewable energy, such as hydroelectric power plant, and also from what we call it like electric steam power plant. But instead of hydroelectric steam plant, Indonesia is developing using hydroelectric power plant. The company that I can mention right now, but in Kaltara, you call it Kalimantan Utara, North Kalimantan, and then we're still using and then developing hydroelectric power plant. What do you think about this one, sir? That's my question.
Okay, thank you, Bapak Franz, for very interesting questions. So we are collecting for other questions. If there is some question from the audience, please. Is there any comment, feedback, or questions? Any question from the audience? From the online, perhaps, if you have any questions? Okay, Bapak Doni, please. From Stay Sebi, time is yours, Pak. Briefly.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, Professor. So, yeah, I'm just interested in your statement saying that, let's say there is an Indonesian company and a German company. and then they want to work together in a business, and then the German company needs to see and then prove if the Indonesian company has applied the ESG in the company or not. Now, my question is, whose standard is going to be used to decide whether the company has fulfilled the needs, the welfare and the rights, especially the wage of the workers, because we know that the average regional minimum pay for Indonesian is only 3 million. So I don't think that is the same as the one that international labor have. So that's the question. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Pak Doni, what is your question? I haven't got your questions.
So whose standard will be used to decide whether the company, let's say Indonesian company, has fulfilled the needs, the welfare and the rights of the workers?
The standards, the standard for related with this labor
Yeah, the labor,
salary.
that's right.
Okay. Okay, so any other questions? So we just sum up
Well,
the
okay,
question.
okay,
Okay,
okay.
please,
Let
Prof.
me.
Time is yours, Prof. Yes.
Yes,
We
yes,
have
yes.
two questions here, Prof.
So,
The first from Dr. Franz here, concerning with your your comment or feedback concerning with the use of unrenewable energy fossil in the Indonesia regarding with the ESG standard, and the second one regarding with the labor salaries that in Indonesia that seems to be quite low in order to comply with the ESG implementations. So please, Prof, please, Prof, time is yours.
yes. So the first issue concerning working with Indonesian companies with in the mining sector, where maybe coal is involved or forms of production are involved which are considered environmentally problematic or so. It's the same issue like in the second question when we talk about environment, labor. Who defines the standards? Who defines the standards? And I fully agree and accept this criticism that we cannot have a world where only the European or North American companies or societies decide the standards which should apply. At the same time, the observation is that let's not take Indonesia as an example. Let's take the example of Congo. Some minerals from Congo are required for the production of batteries. Now, at the moment, there is a huge hype about battery production because we need more batteries. At the same time, we know some of the mining practices in Congo are just unsafe. The children working there, young kids working there, some of them die once in a while. So the practices are really bad, really bad. So the question is, should we actually here in Europe allow the import of goods from Congo and just forget about the social aspects, the human rights aspects of that production? So it's an issue which is discussed here in Europe, in North America, I guess in Korea, Japan as well. And at the same time, we need to be sort of realistic. We need to be honest in saying this is the way we come up with our conclusion, with our reflection on the standards. One way out is to say we follow the international standards. I showed you the trade agreement. The trade agreement is not referring to the German standards, is not referring to the I don't know, French standards. It's referring to the Rio Declaration. The labor standards, it's referring to the ILO standards. So we are not referring to the minimum wage in Germany, which is really high as compared to Indonesia, sure. In Switzerland, it's even twice as much. So it would be completely unrealistic to say such standards apply. but the standards should be there is no prison, there is no forced labor, there is protection of the children and the like. But the issue still remains, do we actually discuss in a fair manner with the countries which standards apply? But still, the main way out is to say we are not referring to our standards, we refer to the standards which the international community agreed upon in the discussions on the climate change, Paris Agreement, in the UNEP, United Nations Environmental programs, or in ILO, International Labour Organizations, and the like. But in the trade agreement, I guess such issues need to be discussed. And I learn actually from just reading that countries like Indonesia, they are quite powerful in joining into such discussions with the European Union on the trade agreements, in saying this is what we want to accept and this is what we don't accept. So I personally would say it is good that the global south is challenging to some extent the global north interpretation of standards, and is making sure that in some of the possible ways to regulate this issue, they bring in their own perspective. But still, the overall issue is, and that so far I would agree, child labor, hazardous environmental practices, asbestos, where we know when people work there without protection, they would die early and so forth and the like, that we should go for a world where we are not accepting such. But beyond that, there is lots of interpretation. The companies, now not the government, the companies, they find a way out to say, we know about the subjectivity of the standards, we know the subjectivity of the metrics, therefore we go actually for many metrics. We go for the Bloomberg metrics, we go for the MSCI metric and the like. And when you compare, it's actually a very nice topic for master thesis or PhD. So I suggest some of you to delve into this issue, or the trade agreements, to look at the trade agreement discussion between Indonesia and the European Union and maybe another country, and look at especially these issues. How does it work? How do you bring that in? So it's complicated, I agree. Sometimes it's even unfair, I would agree as well. In Germany, we discuss as well, does it make actually sense to say no coal export is allowed anymore, or import from our side? Isn't that actually producing perverse results also? So I agree with both your positions. These are issues where there is a potential for a lot of controversy. At the same time, the overall thrust I can accept as an economist who is interested in social issues and environmental issues. There is a world where we have climate change. There is a world where we have social issues. I would as well belong to the kind of consumers who say, if I know exactly that the T-shirt I bought now is made under conditions in Bangladesh or somewhere where women have to work 60 hours, are pregnant and still need to work 50 hours and so forth and the like, then we should find ways to avoid it. But the specific way is very complicated. And sometimes I would say, no, not sometimes. I would say it is useful for our discussion in Europe that countries like Indonesia, which have, I mean, you are the fourth biggest country in the world, that countries speak up and articulate their criticism they have of the discourse we have. If we don't have that criticism from your side, we would develop further our ideas, and sometimes they are just
Okay, Prof.
unfair. They are sometimes not really addressing the issues.
Okay, Prof. Okay, Prof. I wish Prof has answered your question, Dr. Franz, and also from the other audience. So actually, what Prof just now mentioned is about going back to the standard that we are going to develop in order to settle some issues dealing with the ESG. And Prof also mentioned about we have to come up with the effort how to make the ESG become the standard not only in terms of the particular countries but also in global context, so that the issue of labors and also salary and others could be settled by referring to that standard. And I think we do agree with you, Prof. In your slide, you said that nobody interested for taking any trade-off between the ESG goals. Yeah, so maybe that's the point. So it does mean that we have to move together. In the same time, we are still having some weaknesses, but at the same time also we have to settle with the ESG standard and principles. Because the time is still limited, Prof. Thank you, Prof. Peter Mayer, for your very great presentations. So once again, we give applause to Prof. Peter Mayer for the presentations. So before we end, Prof, I would like to just give some brief conclusions about what you have presented just now, that the ESG issue is the outstanding issues in the current world, and there is no any national standard of ESG, but we can refer to the existing international standards, such as the ILO, for taking some measurement about the ESG. And also, there is no any trade-off between the ESG, but we have to focus on the goals. As long as the goals is comply with the ESG standard, so the ESG in respective E, S, and G can be moved together. And the last one is in terms of the law, is this also need to be settled in every countries, because different law here would have different challenge in order to comply with the ESG. But last but not least is that even though there are some weaknesses coming in to the realization of the ESG, we need to make sure that ESG is still in the right track, and mean that we have to move forwards. And for that one, Prof suggested that we have to make some standards. Yeah, maybe this is the outstanding challenge together, Prof. But before the end, I would like to end with the another perspective, perhaps in the Islamic principles. We have the Maqasid al-Sharia. Yeah, maybe the Maqasid Sharia is one of the goals coming from the Islamic law, that whereby the preservation of the intellect, preservation of the life, preservation of the akal for the intellectual families, and also the wealth is become the part and parcel how to make the Islamic law here maybe can be complied with the ESG implementations. Yeah, because in the end of the day, we have to ensure that we can attain the better life. Yeah, and sustainable development still in the right track. Yeah, so that everybody here happy and health. That's what perhaps Prof. Peter Mayer. Thank you so much, Prof, for your time. Stay safe and health, Prof. See you again. And with that one, we close with Alhamdulillah together. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Very good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye-bye.
Okay, before we end, Prof, we will take photo together. Okay, so photo, please, committee, how to take the picture? Oh, okay. All participants, please come to the front. So we will take picture together, Prof. Major, with you. Please Prof. Peter. So with your background there, okay, please. The Zoom perhaps only Prof. Peter only. so, uh, so, and also the participants. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, please proceed forward to take a picture together with the online participant. Thank you so much, Dr. Dimas, for moderating our main keynote speech session. Ladies and gentlemen, we are entering our main event, namely the parallel session for paper presentation. The session would be divided into 3 different sessions, namely the A and B session for the offline participant and the C session for the online participant. So we would like to remind the online participant that would have their own presentation today to please remain in the Zoom meeting. The first, namely the A session, with the topics environmental economics, would be conducted in this building on the 3rd floor in the room 301. I repeat, 301, and would be moderated by Dr. Desi Ramawati, SE MSI. The B session with the topic environmental economy and economic, which would also be conducted in this building on the 3rd floor in the room 302. I repeat, 302. And last but not least, the C session for the online participant with the topic social sciences and health system would be conducted on the breakout Zoom, on the Zoom meeting with the moderator, Professor Dr. Enda Sabtutiningsi, SE MSI. So without further ado, for all of the participants, please proceed to your designated room.